Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start today in Miami. Dolphins head coach Brian Flores made news earlier this week when he trolled Dolphins receiver and self-appointed race policeman Kenny Stills by playing 8 straight Jay-Z songs at the start of practice. Stills had criticized Dolphin team owner Stephen Ross for his support of President Trump and questioned Jay-Z's partnership with the NFL. Well, last night, following Miami's third exhibition game, Flores explained that his Jay-Z playlist was a challenge to Stills to block out the noise and perform.
You know, after the playlist was done, what you guys don't know is, I walked up to Kenny in front of the entire group and said, this is a challenge to you to get open, catch the football, and make plays for this team, regardless of what's going on outside of this building.
That's interesting, but I think there was much more going on with Flores' comments last night. Much, much more. In addition to being a Jay-Z fan, Brian Flores appears to be a fan of Eminem and the movie 8 Mile. With his post-game comments, Flores undressed Stills the way Eminem's character, Rabbit, exposed the fraudulence of his rap nemesis, Papa Doc. Y'all remember when Rabbit rapped, "This guy's a gangster, his real name is Clarence. Clarence lives at home with both parents. Clarence's parents have a real good marriage." Flores more politely said the exact same thing about Kenny Stills, Colin Kaepernick, and Eric Reid. Take a listen.
I'm the son of immigrants. I'm black. I grew up poor. I grew up in New York during the stop and frisk era, so I've been stopped because I fit a description before. So everything that these guys protest, I've lived it. I've experienced it. So yeah, I applaud those guys who protest. So whether it's Kaepernick or Eric Reid or Kenny, I applaud those guys. I told Kenny that in our meeting in front of the entire team.
Brian Flores sounds just like someone I work with who grew up in Compton. Guys who are from it sound different from guys who aren't. Kenny Stills went to La Costa Canyon High School in Carlsbad, California. It's not quite Compton. La Costa Canyon students' average SAT score is 1,200. 95% of its students are college-bound. 75% of its students are white, 16% Hispanic, 3.4% Asian, 1% Filipino, and 0.9% black. Stills' dad was an NFL player. Kenny Stills fits the profile of the NFL's highest profile kneelers. Eric Reid is from the Baton Rouge suburb of Ascension Parish. This morning I read a story titled, "Even Hotspots Like Ascension Parish Feeling the Effects of the Real Estate Slowdown." Reid went to Dutchtown High School in Ascension Parish. Dutchtown is one of the best high schools in Louisiana. 70% of its students are white, 20% are black. 66% of Ascension Parish pulled the lever for our current president. I don't need to re-walk you through Colin Kaepernick's resume, do I? No one, not Brian Flores, not Marcellus Wiley, not Jay-Z, and not me. No one is trying to denigrate Stills, Reid, or Kaepernick's upbringing. Their parents should be celebrated. But it is not a coincidence that the guys kneeling the longest, the guys dead set on being the modern-day Muhammad Ali's, all have a similar profile. Every honest person can see this for what it is. Confused dudes from the suburbs trying way too hard to prove their blackness. In 8 Mile, the movie, Eminem said, "Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks." Flores is warning Stills, there ain't no such thing as halfway protesters or halfway Dolphins.
Look, the player protest, I lived it. I mean, I don't know what I don't know how many people in here have, but I lived it. So that's where I'm at on that. It was a challenge to Kenny to perform regardless of whatever's going on outside. And, I would say, I've said this to him, he hasn't performed up to that level over the course of this training camp as I've seen him. So that was the challenge.
All right, sounds like kneeling might save Kenny Stills' identity, but it won't save his career as a Miami Dolphin. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analyst Mark Schlereth and James Harrison. Marcellus, I'll start with you. You like how Brian Flores is handling this?
First of all, applaud. I have to applaud you for that, for the depth, for the layering, for bringing in to this issue, this cause, the fact that there is something that we need to keep our eyes on in terms of what the prize is. And there's an on-the-field prize and there's an off-the-field prize. And if you're talking about what Brian Flores did, he first made sure that Kenny Stills kept his eyes on the prize on the field. You're here for production. You're here to catch the ball. I understand and respect and realize you have a responsibility to who you are and what you believe in. But don't let that get in the way of what you're doing on this field. 1. 2, last year was your worst year. You got an extension, and now we're in a situation where you're not producing right now. And there's a lot more attention around you than what is justifying what we're seeing in you. So now Brian Flores addresses this, and it's going to get deeper, and I'm going to get deeper with it. But in terms of football, the priority is to perform. Now, if you're losing sight of that, and we know why you're losing sight of that, let me educate you on what I've been through, what you're fighting for. We're in the same boat, brother. However, you are now taking this cause, and your comfort with the cause has made you forget what's most important. This is not about color. It's not about race. It's deeper than that. It's condition. There's socioeconomic factors that are not being appreciated by those who have never been in it. I have a son that one day I will have a conversation with him about the black experience. And it won't be so myopic to just talk about police encounters. That will be a part of it. But there are conditions that my son, who lives now in the suburbs of Studio City, will never, ever be a part of. But I still want him to respect and understand his black culture. But when you go to situations where there is actual evidence and socioeconomic disparity between what we're dealing with and what they're dealing with, respect that in priority. And that's what I have an issue with Kenny Stills, Kaepernick, and everyone else. It became more than just the cause. It became credit. It became attention. It became blocking other brothers for helping those in those same conditions still. So do I respect what Brian Flores did? Beyond. And he did it in the way that kept Kenny's eyes on what's most important, why he's a Dolphin, is getting the damn ball.
Well, me personally, I don't have a problem with it either way, to be honest. I thought it was kind of funny. He's just trolling him, you know. Like, honestly, like, real talk, that's like when I was going through my stuff with Roger Goodell. And, you know, I was getting fined. You know, guys messed around with me. Hey, Roger's in the building, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, like he said, he came out. He said, I understand. You know, I support you. I've lived through it. I've lived through it in an era where it was worse then than it is now. But you need to understand, you're here to play ball. You're here to do it well. And you haven't been doing that since you've come up with the comments with Ross, with Trump, with Jay-Z. Your play has declined. And right now, I'm the head coach, and I'm in a position where it's very few of us, black men, that are head coaches. What is it, 3 now?
Yeah.
Now I have to evaluate you and clear out the noise and see if I'm going to actually have to keep you or cut you. Because now my job is on the line. So what you need to do is focus on why you're here and let the noise that's out there, because as of right now, it looks like that is what's lowering your play. So
seems like what he's most focused on.
Right. And right now, you're here to play ball. And that helps me be able to evaluate you and see if I'm going to keep you so that I can keep my job.
There's a level of snarkiness to this head coach, Brian Flores, that I absolutely love, because that's the way I was brought up in this game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they put you on notice. They put you on blast. This is not a try-hard league. This is a do-good league. And you don't do good, you know what? You're on the outside looking in. That's how the NFL operates. And I think a couple of different things. I think Miami historically here in the last however many years has had some of the worst culture in all of football. I've experienced it firsthand going there and calling a game and watching the Friday practice, and I thought to myself, That's the worst practice I have ever watched in my entire life, in 12 years of playing and 19 years of broadcasting. Worst practice I'd ever seen. And that's a cultural issue. That's a team culture issue. And what Brian Flores is telling you guys right now is, I'm not going to put up with bad culture. You're here to do a job. You're here to essentially be a good football player. And I'll tell you this, too. Put yourself on notice. If you get cut, it's a performance issue. Has nothing to deal with you kneeling. I'm sending a message to everybody. You can kneel, you can protest, you can do all those things. I applaud you for it. I applaud you for your beliefs, but make no bones about it. If you don't perform, you don't make this football team. And it has nothing to do with whatever stance you're taking.
And I think he had to clear the air on that, because when Kenny Stills first came out and made the comments over Twitter about Stephen Ross, one of my first thoughts was like, oh, damn, I wonder if his job's in jeopardy. And if he is using this as deodorant or as, proof, or you can't cut me. Is that the play that's going there? And it seems like a cover-up to me. And Brian Flores has politely called it out for what it is. And it'll be interesting to see if the rest of the media does some homework to see, is Brian Flores right here? Because he said, look at the guy's performance. If things don't go right, don't come to me talking about it's because he took a knee. He's here to play football, and all of this noise about non-football stuff is hurting him.
Wow. Now you have drawn a parallel between what happened with Kaepernick and what's going on with Kenny
There's a
Stills.
profile, man.
It's a profile and now a parallel in terms of Dr. Harry Edwards, some say his former advisor, Kaepernick's, but certainly an advisor when he first started kneeling, told Roger Goodell, don't make a martyr out of him. Basically, give him an opportunity to play and play this out, because if not, what's going to happen is if he loses his opportunity, everyone's going to blame it on this situation and not on performance. Supposedly, Goodell didn't take that fully to heart, and we know the results of that. So right now, this could be covered.
Well, Marcel, I do think they took it to heart. I think the 49ers allowed Kaepernick to go that entire season the way they did because they didn't want to look like they were upset about him kneeling. So I think they played too soft with Kaepernick early. They should have shut it down early. They should have done it.
I don't think that.
I think Kaepernick could have still got back into this league as a backup to somewhere or got an opportunity.
That's facts.
That's facts.
That's facts. Dr. Harry Edwards said that as well. Teams were interested. We know what happened with the Ravens because of Nessa. We also know what if Kaepernick went into the Seattle situation. Denver was trying to trade. His value was dropping. Would you be a backup? Will you service a starter? No, I won't. Okay, now we're in this reality. You can now label or mislabel that blackballed, or you really don't want all the opportunities that exist.
Right, you're basically, and I'm 100%. I mean, I think that certainly there were teams that said teams don't want that noise.
Yeah.
I can't afford that noise. There's a bunch of those teams. There were teams that were willing to say, if you're willing to be a backup, and if you don't want that opportunity, I mean, most of us have had to go through that. Most of us have had to fight to stay in this league or be a backup.
I think we're leaving out one word. Are you willing to be a backup and take a backup salary was the other thing as well.
Right.
Kaepernick put a real high price tag, it seems, on what he was willing to play for, and teams are like, I'm not meeting that.
That's why the Denver situation didn't work. 2 years, $7 million. He was like, I'm not doing that. Seattle was more probably service Russell Wilson and not kind of what I'm signing up
for. The Denver situation was because obviously I live in Denver. It was, hey, we'll give you an opportunity, but you're gonna play at this backup salary. I think there was a bunch of incentives. As I remember, I may not be remembering that completely clearly, but I think that's how the whole thing went down. He said no to that.
Yeah, but I have to push back on the whole. I think this caught the NFL off guard with Kaepernick, like how big it was. It caught Kaepernick off guard, how big it became. If you remember in real time, from August all the way through the year, there's no proper reaction because no one knows the enormity of it. And so I think that's where that.
I want to be clear here, too. I want to bring this back to Kenny Stills and Brian Flores. People for years, there's no distraction. There's no distraction with the whole kneeling thing. And that's just a misnomer. That's misidentifying. I read today, and I believe it was on ESPN, but I read a story today someone wrote, and they said what Brian Flores did playing those songs was a distraction. And they cast it in a very negative light that his reaction playing those, that was a distraction.
Right.
And I was like,
so if that's a distraction, then
why
the
isn't
other thing would have to be
a distraction as well?
Because it's in response to him having said something about the person that he's playing the music about. So I've been in the locker room. Everyone says something is not a distraction, but at the end of the day, you don't want to have to answer questions about anything that somebody else is doing unless it's football related. So if it's not football related, it is a distraction. Guys won't admit it, but Mark can speak to that. It's a distraction that you don't want to have to deal with.
A coach and an executive, when you come to work, they want you thinking about football, not who the team owner had a fundraiser for, not whether Jay-Z's partnership with the NFL is appropriate or not. They want you thinking about football. And that, to me, is what Brian Flores is pushing back against. It's like, man, we're paying you a lot of money to think about and to produce on the football field.
I think it's really interesting, too, because we always talk about it as players. You don't talk about money, religion, or politics, right? That's what they always talk about.
That's all out the window now.
Oh, that's gone.
And then political correctness is just so out of control. You can't say anything without being judged and having it taken the wrong way.
James Harrison and Mark Schlereth are back. Time now for a big story. Let's move to Cam Newton, who took the field last night for the first time since getting shut down with a shoulder injury last season. Cam's shoulder looked good, but he went down with a sprained foot in the first quarter and left the game in a walking boot. Reportedly, the team is optimistic Cam will be ready for week 1, but watching a major star go down raises serious questions about the value of preseason. All right, Marcellus, is Cam's injury more proof preseason needs to be fixed?
Absolutely, and I got a solution to fix it. Eliminate it. Get rid of it. Done. Zero. Look, we were amateurs just years ago. Hello, NFL. As a collegiate player and didn't have a preseason game at all. And we did just fine. And now we're in a situation that's professional where you're supposed to work your hardest and have intensity, but self-preservation. And make sure you use the technology and resources to make sure that you only play one game a week. That matters. So the roll of the dice of having guys go out there and knock off the rust and to get some continuity and chemistry in a game that doesn't matter. I love Sean McVay for being this level, this era's innovator, and the one who's stepping out there saying, my guys are not playing in the preseason, just not that serious. And last year, they started off slow against the Raiders in the first half, and then the second half lit them boys up, and everyone said, oh, he may be on to something. He's definitely on to something. Eliminate it.
No, I totally disagree with you. You need the preseason. It's a necessary evil. If it wasn't for the preseason, I wouldn't have played the ball that I did play. Because in those last 3 and 4 games is when I made a statement that, you know what, I can help you on special teams. So for guys that are already well established and all that, yeah, it's not a need for that. But here's another thing. This is the first game where Cam has actually went out there and exerted that sort of force. He actually had to push he got a soft tissue injury, basically.
Yeah.
So you haven't soft tissue injuries are either fatigue or weakness. And fatigue comes from not training or exerting those forces on yourself before you get into this game sort of situation.
Yeah.
So to get rid of the preseason won't help everything because you still have to build your team. The guys that are out here doing a great job in college, how many times are they going to play against the caliber person that they're going to face every week in the NFL?
Well, see, I think that's a myth. One, we know team building and the construction of a team. Of the 53 positions, 45 are already counted for, either by seniority, by contract, by what you mean to the organization, et cetera. There's only like 8 guys on this bubble, and you said you were one of those guys.
No question.
But guess what? I'm an evaluator. I can set a live situation in practice.
Well,
I'm an evaluator.
You see first-round draft picks that come in and they're bust. They evaluated that talent wrong.
I'm not saying this is a complete science, but the risk-reward relationship is what we got to respect. If we know that we're only doing this, we're putting a Cam Newton out there just because of 8 guys on the bubble, is that worth it? Is that the risk-reward?
Cam Newton himself, I wouldn't have put out there. But I'm saying to get rid of the whole preseason, you can't do it.
Right.
You can't function.
As a 10th rounder at a little tiny University of Idaho, that's how I made it in the league.
Right.
But I will say this, and there's value in that. But the piece you're missing right here is the financial piece. The reason you're not going to fix this is because owners
that's real.
aren't paying any money. They're not paying the players. And they're still paying they're still getting the same revenue from season ticket holders. They're still getting the same revenue from parking. They're still getting the same revenue from concessions. So they're making a huge sum of money during the preseason because they don't have any expense.
Preach.
Right.
There's no expense.
What
You're
is
not
it?
paying your $33 million quarterback. You know what you're paying him? $1,000 a week.
Yeah,
Like
is
you're
it
paying the
$1,200 bucks
$1,200
for
bucks
that
a
week.
week, just like you're paying the
And you're
53rd man
getting
or the
every
90th
ticket.
man
There
on
is a
your
solution.
roster.
There is a solution. There is a solution.
Okay, what is it?
One, I think the first step they're going to get to in the next 2 or 3 years, they'll put the quarterbacks in red jerseys in preseason games. The other solution that I think they're eventually going to get to is the 18-game regular season schedule
That's
and one
the whole,
or two
that's
one or
everything
two
is
preseason
towards
games.
that. That's the
Yeah.
whole plight of all this. Safety, you know what? We just made the game safer. Concussions are down. Everything is down. The players, we added more people on the roster. You know what? We're only still going to do 20 games, guys. It's going to be 20 games, but I'm going to need 18 regular season. Because right now, no one is playing. You're sitting guys out. The fans aren't happy. The ratings are going down, and it's going to hurt the money that we're going to be able to get from the sponsors. Y'all guys want more money? We got to get more money from them. And God, believe me, guys are going to end up bending and folding to this because our union is not as strong as it needs to be.
Well, I think that's a baby step towards my solution. What you're going to do is put your toe in the water. And the 18-2, I think that is something that the players are going to get on board at the right price. Then they're going to be in that situation, and in those 2 games, we're going to see some catastrophic injuries, and then we're going to say, what are we doing here, guys? Now, I know that's a forecast that's years away, and we have to solve what you just said, which is the greatest point. Owners are making the same, and we're getting $1,000, $1,200 a week.
Right.
When you're making money in the league, you're making $1 million a week, like making it. I mean, 16 million.
What do y'all think of my quarterbacks in a red jersey?
Nah.
That's not going to happen.
Complexion of it.
That's not going to happen.
I don't like how it looks.
That's tag football.
Right,
That's
right,
touch
right.
football. How many people was out here loading the stadium with 60,000 people watching flag football?
I just heard a coach, I think maybe it was Sean Payton or somebody say, let's go to showing televising the practices, the shared practices.
Yeah.
That'll be in a red jersey.
Well, here's the thing about the game. Even in those shared practices, because you're playing against somebody else, there's more intensity there.
Right.
Yeah.
But James's point about soft tissue, James's point about that injury, there is no way to get in shape for playing a football game other than playing a football game.
Football.
So you get in your first game of the season, you have a 12-game drive. You've never simulated that in practice. You take 4 plays and you're out. The backups are in. Then 4 plays and out. And then that period's done, you move to the next period. So I don't know how you simulate playing a game other than playing a game. That same game we're sitting here talking about Cam Newton, that same game that Tom Brady threw 12 passes, he played deep into the second quarter.
Right.
He's 42 years old. He's okay.
But
I don't live my life like going, I'm afraid I might get hurt if I play. I go out and play. If I get hurt, I get hurt. If I don't, I don't.
The thing I did in the offseason is I tried to train harder than what I would have to deal with in season because that prepared my body for all the forces, everything that I was going to do to it in the preseason before the preseason even came. Preseason came, I'm out there playing as if it's a regular season game. I'm not thinking in my head, you know what, let me get through 5, 6 plays so I can get out of here. I'm thinking whatever I'm in here, I'm going to give everything I got. Because once you sit there and you start thinking about, I just want to make it through, that's when something happens.
Well, in terms of performance, you went rags to riches, man. You became a Hall of Famer and you started where they were discounting you. So respect to you. But you are an anomaly. Let's talk about most of the guys. We played in college. Guess what, guys? We went to training camp and then
2 weeks and then
let's
you're
play.
playing a game.
Why can't we go there again when we're professionals? That just makes no sense to me.
Well, I think one thing James and the NFL where it's gotten to is because there's so much less actual hitting in practice. And again, back in my day, I'm 52, Mark's, the hitting on like the third day, it became normal. And the pain all went away. The first couple days in pads, oh my God.
Right.
And the sixth day it hit,
you
get used
calloused.
to it.
You get calloused.
Right.
And that's not what's happening with Cam and some of these other guys.
And you develop a kinesthetic awareness.
Yeah.
You develop those skills. You develop those skills.
Mark Schlereth is back, and we're joined now by Fox Sports Radio host Doug Gottlieb. Big thanks to the XFL for giving us some new gear. They unveiled the new team names and logos this week. Marcellus, like you got a new LA team to support?
That's right, man. And first of all, I got to give shout out to the XFL president, Jeffrey Pollock, my dog, you know who it is, and Heather Carrots. That's my friend, who's also the president of the LA Wildcats. Football.
All right, let's return to the NFL.
Love it.
And the New York Giants, who got another solid performance out of rookie quarterback Daniel Jones last night, with the young QB going 9 of 11 for 141 yards against the Bengals. The team took a ton of heat for drafting the unheralded Jones at number 6 overall, but head coach Pat Shurmur says he's never doubted the young quarterback's abilities.
Ever.
Ball's not on the ground much with him. I mean, is that what you think he is going to be eventually?
That's what we thought he was when we drafted him. It's fun. About every 6 or 7 days now, I've been able to tell you that's what we saw when we drafted him. So I think he just has a feel for playing the position, and he's getting, he's steadily getting better every time he takes the field, whether it's practice or games. And so that's what you're looking for from a young player, and certainly a guy as talented as Daniel is. Like I said, you can ask me all you want about why I like him. I think it's time to start asking the people that didn't like him what they think.
He's a little early here, in my opinion. Tone it down. I wouldn't be taking these shots. You like what he's doing?
Love it. Channeling his inner Rick Ross. I'm the boss. He out here like, I told y'all. And y'all wanted to doubt me? First of all, I came here after I met Daniel Jones. I remember telling you, but you were, everybody's caught up in the mob mentality of booing him.
I wasn't booing him, but go ahead.
No, you didn't boo him,
Yeah.
but everybody was skeptical. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, I understand the Duke numbers. I understand the win-loss column. But can we look at the skill set? Tall, not huge, but bigger than Eli, and can move around that football field with an arm. From the same cloth as Peyton and Eli Manning in terms of tutelage, and now he's just going out there and just being the best passer in preseason. I understand it's preseason, but judge a man by the distance traveled from where you, people booing him to now, the guy is showing up.
Listen, only thing, before you jump in, Doug or Mark, my position the whole time was, hey, quit acting like you're embarrassed you took him. Because Pat Shurmur and them initially were making all kinds of excuses. And I was like, no, stand on your decision. And so now now that Daniel Jones has done a few things in the preseason, he wants to pound his chest. He should have been pounding his chest on draft day.
He was shook then, though, huh?
Yes. And so I don't like this because, one, it is just preseason. I'd pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. When Dave Gettleman came out, who was their general manager that drafted Daniel Jones, I hated that press conference.
Yeah.
I hated it for the kid because he was making excuses. Well, we had great intel that Washington was going to take him anyhow, so we want to jump up and take him. And I'm like, pound your chest then and say, man, we evaluated this kid. This kid is the boss at quarterback. He is going to be great. He's going to be great. Why? I mean, stand up for your pick. Don't make the excuses of why you took him. I will say this about the critics, man. Critics, being a critic is easy, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Criticism is easy. Decisions are hard. They made a decision. He's playing really good right now. It is the preseason, but I think they brought a ton of the criticism, not all of it, but a ton of the criticism on themselves because they didn't stand up from the beginning and say, this is our guy. We targeted him from day one. The Browns, just look at it, just a year earlier, the Browns came up and shocked everybody when they went and got Baker Mayfield. But what did John Dorsey come out? My guy, this guy's got onions. We were on him from day one. There's no way we trade down. guess what? It's the narrative that you create.
I couldn't agree with you guys more, right? This is a New York Giants front office narrative and PR issue more so than a Daniel Jones issue, right? I mean, look, last year they did well in the draft. I thought they should have taken Sam Darnold, right? Not just because he was the best quarterback prospect and still there and they needed a quarterback, but also because now the Jets have him in their same building and they would have forever ruined the Jets, who probably would have drafted Josh Allen, who's not as good, not as accurate. I don't just like the pick because he's played well. I like the pick because there's some logic to it, right? You got to be careful with this Eli thing. Last time they tried to bench Eli, everybody got fired. Everybody.
All y'all.
Okay? So now you get a guy who's from the Cutcliffe cloth.
Yep.
Now you get so Cutcliffe can tell Eli, look, he's a great kid. He's got some room to go. He can talk to the kid and say, look, you got to walk slowly and quietly and learn from Eli. And when it's time, everybody will know that it's time. And so is it surprising how well he's played? Sure, but he's played against the 2s, the 3s, and frankly the 4s. But he's played well. He's looked like a 6th pick of the first round. And I don't mind them sticking out their chest, but the problem is this Giants front office and this Giants coaching staff says silly stuff instead of saying what they think, thinking what they say, and just standing by.
Well, there's a lack of consistency, and again, this is why I don't like it. If I'm Pat Shurmur, I'm just telling you, his play is doing all the talking. Pat Shurmur needs to add nothing to it. Just let the kid go out there and play, and it speaks for itself. But then Pat Shurmur has seemingly reversed course. I've said it all along. Daniel, when it's time to play, he's going to be ready. We're going to continue to get him ready, and we have a couple of weeks left before we play Dallas. That sounds like he's opened the door for the kid potentially week 1.
Let me clarify, and let's bring this all together and consolidate. Pat Shurmur is not David Gettleman. So this whole narrative, y'all, we can't judge him based on what they did. And if one is my boss, it runs downhill. So therefore, I didn't correct him. But now, what's happening is Daniel Jones has corrected everything in terms of this narrative in the preseason, which I understand. You always tell me, Stink, what? It doesn't count.
It doesn't count, but it does matter.
It matters, right? So you just can't roll out of bed and get in the preseason. I don't care who you're playing against and just ball, be the best passer, unless you got something there, right?
Correct.
So if I'm Pat Shurmur, I do floss. I do flex. I do instill that confidence in him because why not? I'm not playing this guy more than likely this year. And MC Breed said it. Ain't no future in your fronting. Guess what? There's a future in him fronting right now for him because he's not going to go out there and have to deal with these bullets. Eli is the starter for this team. Eli will be the guy that has to go out there and deal with this. So
We're going to continue to get him ready, and we have a couple of weeks left before we play Dallas.
Right.
He's not playing against Dallas.
Are you kidding me? They already went on record and said Eli's our starter week 1. Get him ready. Get him ready so he can be prepared to be the backup. You think he's going to be the starter?
Well, I'm just, to me, he's left the door open slightly ajar.
I don't,
a guy pumping his chest like that?
Yeah.
Again, the media, as soon as Eli throws 3 straight incompletions, the media will say, hey,
oh, yeah.
Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah. We know that.
Look, but the owner, John Mara, came out and said we're going to redshirt him. Dave Gettleman came out and said we're going to redshirt him.
Yep.
And Pat Shurmur's come out and saying that's the plan. I do think we're reading it, I think, and feeling it and listening to it, it's a little bit different. There's 2 types of backup quarterbacks. Either a guy who's got to be ready for that or a guy who's simply going to get the starter ready. And I think he's obviously a guy who's got to be ready in case that opportunity comes. Eli doesn't get hurt, and we're just waiting to see if Eli has a season like the way Peyton had.
There's not a lot of independent thinkers in the NFL. There's a lot of groupthink. And you know what's happened? Everybody's drafted these quarterbacks and said, hey, we're going to sit them, and then they all play them, whether it's Bortles or whoever else it is, right?
Bortles tore it up in the preseason, did he not?
Right. Yeah. But here's the deal. Here's the difference. Andy Reid had the wherewithal and the courage and the onions to sit Mahomes, even though Mahomes was exceptionally talented. Now, he had a great quarterback in Alex Smith, or a really good quarterback. He let him sit for the entirety of the year. And you know what now? Like I said, there's a lot of groupthink that goes on. All the other general managers are going, wow, look at that. It's a great way to develop a quarterback, right? Now all of a sudden everybody goes, hey, maybe we can do that. So you've got Drew Lock in Denver. You've got, Daniel Jones here with Eli in the Giants. Like, there's a lot of teams, and I've talked to general managers who think this way as far as developing their guys now, as opposed to baptism by fire like it was for years.
Yes, but you have Goff and Trubisky who had awful first years, and look at how they bounced back. So while you're right, and this,
I'm just saying, because of what happened with Mahomes, now everybody thinks, okay, that's the way to do it, and they're all going to jump on that bandwagon if they can, if they're in that position.
All right, Darnell, what's cracking out there?
Yeah, so after Daniel Jones lit it up on the field, the media just couldn't get enough of him. New York sports reporter Tom Rock posted this picture of Jones in the locker room.
That's amazing.
If you zoom in just a little bit, you'll notice another player next to Jones tying his shoes right there. I want to ask you guys, do you feel sorry for Eli?
That shirt.
Let me add some clarity.
Yeah. Oh, don't mess up the good story with fat.
Come on, man.
Let us get our jokes off first.
There was another picture taken where the crowd was all around Eli.
Say that at the end,
Eli was
Whitlock.
talking. But do I feel sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, this picture may live in infamy.
Yeah.
That's worse than sad Eli face, right?
That's the worst. Yeah, you had to be an adult right now. Huh?
I'm just,
but
I want to be fair.
Are you getting ready? This is it right here.
Get me here. No, well.
Don't pay any attention to me. Nobody ever does.
That's not Eli. Eli is so confident, walks around with so much swag that we can't even read it. One, your last name is Manning. Yeah. Two, I got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. And 3, which is most important to me, he's made the second most amount of money in NFL history behind only one man, and that's his brother. So guess what? Y'all think I give a damn if y'all gonna come up to me and ask me them same questions I've been hearing for 15 years? Get out my face.
He's stuffed in like a temporary locker. You know, getting the.
He doesn't even have a name tag. Look at it.
Getting the south end of a northbound bull there, right? He's got the bad end of some reporters.
This is pretty much, other than winning those 2 Super Bowls, this is kind of what it's like being Peyton Manning's little brother.
Whoa.
In that shadow.
What I tell you about comedy, it's not funny if it's a bullseye. That was a bullseye, so that's not funny. But that hurt a little bit. That hurt a little bit.
Whitlock and Wiley, Mark Schlereth is back with us. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. Darnell, take it away.
Yeah, let's talk about Carly Lloyd. The U.S. soccer star made waves this week after a video of her nailing a 55-yard field goal at Eagles practice went viral. The kick had some people in the media saying teams should think about signing her, and Lloyd says some teams have expressed interest already. So check this out.
They're starting to think, will there ever be a female in the NFL at some point? You know, and I think we're kind of at that crossroads as far as equality and you know, just women empowerment. So you're kind of being in the crosshairs of that, and I've definitely got some inquiries. I've definitely got some people talking. Anything's possible, but you know, right now I'm strictly a soccer player, and we'll see what the future holds.
Will a woman play in the NFL someday?
Yes. And I say that in all seriousness. And I say it because it's a TV show, and I say it because there seems to be a media commitment to make this happen. I don't think it makes sense. There's allegedly a war against toxic masculinity, but the solution is to put women inside that toxically masculine place, and now everything's all equal. We've had the woman, Tony Harris, that I did an essay about months ago that they did a Super Bowl commercial about. She didn't play in high school. She didn't play at East LA Community College, but somehow she got a scholarship based off of some practice tapes, 3 or 4 of them on Huddle or whatever. And so there seems to be a commitment to make this happen, because now we have people pretending as if we're about to have an NFL kicker, Carly Lloyd. And so they've created a fake little world that I think eventually is going to transpire on television on a TV show called the NFL.
Say it, man. Emotional listeners out there, you're warned right now. You might not like what I'm going to say. Carly, whatever contract comes your way, whatever inquiries come your way, please read the fine print. Being a kicker in the NFL is not just kicking the ball and hope it goes in or not. There are combat moments, even for kickers. And I don't know a woman that, and my mom was 6'1", 250 pounds and athletic enough to make me. And there's no way she could have dealt with any of the things that really come through an NFL experience. I talked to a top 5 of all time WNBA player, Hall of Famer. We didn't say this on record. I don't remember on or off record, so I don't want to say their name. I said, could you have made it in the NBA? Looked me dead in my eyes, start laughing. No, too big, too strong, too much. If you really want to get into the physiology of this, this is not even a conversation. But if we want to entertain it because it's an entertainment product, not my daughter, ever. And anything is possible in many respects, but not everything is possible. My last point is this. The greatest sport for me, my favorite sport, is track because it takes all the other factors out the door. Fastest woman that ever existed on the planet Earth, FloJo, ran a 10.49. That won't even qualify in high school finals right now. Matthew Boyling ran a 9.98 and he's in high school. I'm just giving you measurables, objective numbers that shows there is a difference, and I wouldn't want to cause anyone harm by walking into that.
I initially, when this question was posed to me and I thought about it, I thought, no, there ain't no way. It's just the physical differences, there's no way. But you have actually made me think. You know, because you're 100% right. Like, you're 100% right. It's not, but I don't believe, now one, she had about a 7-yard run up. That's not how field goals are kicked in the National Football League. That's kickoff.
Right. Yeah.
But you got to do all those things. But you've made me think, you know what?
Oh, there's
You're
a commitment to make it happen.
Right.
We saw a Super Bowl commercial about somebody, a kid playing in the NFL who didn't play in high school. She was on the team, but they were afraid to put her on the field. Somehow I ended up at East LA, didn't play there. There's a huddle tape of her making or piling on some tackles in practice. And then we put out a story that went everywhere. It was everywhere. First woman gets football scholarship. And it's like, so they can make happen whatever they want to make happen. And I think there seems to be, this whole conversation about Carla is part of that momentum of, oh, we're going to make this happen. Whether it's reality or not, we're going to make it happen. And that's what TV does. Right now, I look overweight on TV. In real life, I'm 190 pounds. Everybody knows
What?
that. But the cameras do this because it makes better TV if I look overweight.
It's
Give or take,
reality television is all 100% scripted. None of it's reality. It's all scripted.
Exactly.
All this is
Whitlock and Wiley, James Harrison, and Doug Gottlieb are back. Let's move to Eric Reid, who actually made some news last night for something he did on the football field with a late hit on Patriots tight end Ben Watson. The hit raised a lot of eyebrows concerning Watson had recently criticized Reid for his opposition to the Players Coalition, tweeting, "Yes, Eric Reid, you are wrong. You know the work many of us, including Malcolm Jenkins, have done. No one entity owns this movement. We are all a continuation of generations who fought before us. We need each other." After the game, Reid was asked if the hit had anything to do with the criticism.
Some people drew the connection between Ben's tweet and then the hit. Was it personal at all?
What tweet?
The tweet that Ben Watson tweeted you saying that you were wrong about the Players Coalition.
I didn't even know he tweeted. Okay. That's not even something that you process in a game.
Right.
I'm not analyzing who has the ball in their hand and what they tweeted at me while I'm playing the game. So.
All right, the question here is, do you buy that Reid wasn't taking a cheap shot based off the tweet beef?
No, I don't buy any of this. Just from my experiences and being in those situations, things happen in microframes when you're out there. I think that a lot of times outsiders say, oh, man, did you lose your mind? Did you go into some blind fury or rage? Things really slow down, especially for a good veteran like Eric Reid. So I saw 3 levels of guilt right there. One is the timing. Like, you know, Rodney Harrison was my teammate.
Yeah.
Rodney knew what he was doing. I mean, he would wait to the echo of the whistle before it's time to start to hit you. Wait it to after the whistle, it's time to go get it. I used to talk to him a lot of times because sometimes he would hit me. 2 was, where was your aim? Your helmet was trying to come in there. Missed, and then you hit him with the shoulder lean. And then really what got me on terms of, all right, let me hit the gavel, guilty, is when you do things like that, you know what you just did. So when you did it and it wasn't intentional, I couldn't slow down, whatever it may be, my bad, big dog, immediately in the moment, you don't get up and then, oh, what happened? Oh, my bad. Right there, that pause, those frames, that's guilt, bro. I've been there.
James, you're the expert.
Oh, I'm the expert. Oh,
Yeah.
How am I the expert?
How much were you fined in your career?
Not that much compared to other people.
Oh, don't do that.
I'm with you. I think it was on purpose. And the only reason I think it was on purpose is if you look at this play, right at the end, the kick, I'm trying to get more force into you than I need to. You see that little kick at the end? I'm trying to drive my shoulder into you because I know it's you. I don't recognize who has the ball, all that. That's bull. I know it's you. I see it's you. You know what? Here's my opportunity for what you said. I'm going to give it to you. If it wasn't for the little kick at the end to drive your shoulder deep into his head, I would have said it was an accident. He didn't mean it. He just dived in there late, even though you can already see dude is on the ground before you even comes down to get into the contact.
Come on.
Definitely, I believe it was on purpose.
I was born at night, not last night.
Right.
And so I don't buy it. But I also don't buy it because you guys have played the game. You know how it does slow down, right? So I'd like to believe, I really want to believe, hey, I just hit whoever. But one, that's a play that they've tried to eliminate from football for the exact reason, right? Ben Watson's in the concussion protocol because of a preseason hit. And two, you know, there's the extra emphasis at the end, and there wasn't the, oh, hey, my bad, I didn't mean to hit you late thing. The worst part about it is this goes along with the narrative that Benjamin Watson was tweeting about, right? It's like, hey, man, we're all in this movement together. We may have different visions of how we're supposed to do, but how we're supposed to do things, but there is a brotherhood, not just about football players, but about being black football players. And to do that to one of your brothers, like I would be especially offended if I wasn't just a Patriot, but I was a Carolina Panther.
You all play in the NFL or played in the NFL. I think, y'all correct me, there's just a different energy and anger you play with in the preseason. And so that's where I don't get it. Late hits just aren't for preseason.
Hell no.
Particularly not for veterans.
No hits.
You're not, especially that situation. He's already going down. It's no need for you to dive in there. Maybe you miss him and hit your whole shoulder, get a separation or something.
Or hit your teammate. Or but again, I just think there's a different emotional energy with for veteran players. If this was a rookie player that's trying to pile on and get credit for a tackle or do something, I almost get it. And then the other thing, which I just don't buy at all, what tweet? What tweet? Come on, man.
He did at you.
You live on Twitter. Man. He added you. Come on. An NFL player who's basically the second guy at the coalition, and we've already seen you go after Malcolm Jenkins. And so here's the number 2 guy at the coalition who's outspoken, but what tweet you talking about?
Can we go here? Can we go here, party people? First of all, we're going back to school, y'all. And I remember my favorite subject was math. I was very advanced at math, and my teachers always used to say, show me your work. Don't just show me that you got the answer right. I need to see the equation, the variables, and I hated that. But you got to go through the process. When we on the football field, it's Terminator. Ding, 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 ding. Tom Brady has the ball. Ding, 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 ding. Sonny Mitchell has the ball. No, that's Ben Watson. We know who got the ball because they all got dollar signs. If I get Brady, that's not the same as getting Ben Watson, brother. Not me. That's how I interpret it. So, boom, lock in. I see you, ground. Option. Abort. No. It's Ben Watson. Yeah. You do all that. That's intentional. Now, why is it intentional? Ask Josh Norman about your boy Eric Reid. When Josh Norman was on the call with him and said, look, I'm going to send you a plane ticket, Eric Reid, the way you acting, so I can come out here and get some of this. Like, wanted to go to blows with the guy because he brings this energy. Yeah. And then this energy manifests and it goes beyond, it goes across the line. Same thing happening in the coalition calls. They just crossing the line. Who's a sellout? Who's a coon? They didn't work with us. They didn't come through us. No approval. Kaepernick must be the lead. Dr. Harry Edwards told Kaepernick, the same guy he advised in the kneeling, that whoever starts the movement doesn't necessarily have to lead the movement. All of a sudden, everything went awry. This dude is just on one, and every time he does something, I am going to point it out.
Well, let's remember that we saw it's the Amazon show about football, not Hard Knocks, but we saw where Cam Newton said last year, like, he questioned Ron Rivera about, hey, man, what kind of energy is Eric Reid going to bring here? What kind of noise is he going to bring to this team? We just want it to be all about football. Eric Reid, again, it's not all about football with this guy. He's bringing an energy to this team that I think is inappropriate. And again, the only thing he should have done here after the game was apologize.
Man.
And I never heard the apology. I go, what are you talking about? And then he acknowledges he's going to get fined because he knows he did something wrong. You just put a guy in the protocol for no reason in a preseason game, a veteran player who has no problem with you. The guy, Ben Watson's criticism was very mild, and it was respectful. I'm not an Eric Reid fan.
Well, look,
no, but it's also incredibly selfish, right? Because you do this, and you do this. If he does this again in the season, then he gets suspended, and now they don't have the starting defensive back, right? So I mean, like, football is the ultimate team game, and while he may think this is whatever his personal vendetta is, I totally agree with you. There's nothing wrong even with saying, hey, in that moment, I lost my mind. I was mad about Ben Watson, what he tweeted. I'm mad about how I'm being perceived, and I lost my mind.
He couldn't admit that even if he wanted to.
Well,
even if that was the right thing to do, you can't admit that. He can only do what he just did. But to add to it saying that I didn't know who had the ball, I didn't hear the tweet, now I know you did it on purpose.
Yeah, your credibility is shot. And look, let's not put words in his mouth. I'm going to read you what he says, and this is going to let you know his state of mind. He says, quote, I think it was James Baldwin that said, to be black in America and to be relatively conscious is to be in a constant state of anger. I'm in a constant state of anger.
Yeah.
Now, that has its purpose in its right perspective. But if that's how you're walking around and doing your business all day, every day, feel sorry for you, brother.
It's not the right state of mind, though.
No.
It's unhealthy in every way. Games are to be played with joy, and again, I understand emotional anger is a part of it.
Right.
But life is to be pursued with great joy and a positive energy. That James Baldwin quote gets a lot of play, and it's the wrong energy. You start carrying that anger around you all the time and to be in this constant state of anger, it's an early death. It's a lot of problems and complications in your life. You won't reach the level of success. You got to remember, this guy was a first-round pick, Eric Reid. He was high school All-American, everything. He potentially, in my view, could be one of the best players in the league. He's already been run out of San Francisco. You know, decent player last year, maybe somewhere around the 15th or 20th best safety in the league. He's underachieving. He's tapped into the wrong emotional energy. Being angry works over Twitter. Twitter is not the real world.
It also honestly can divide a team. I mean, look, he has white teammates, and when you're the white guy and you see the angry black guy who's just angry all the time because of his perceived injustice in the world, then all of a sudden it creates a chasm in the locker room. And the locker room is a place where, especially in football, but any sport, it's supposed to bring you together. And so that negative energy can crack apart a team. And it's one of the reasons that you ask yourself, why does this team go south? It's because you have too many guys with that negative energy.
Whitlock and Wiley, James Harrison, and Doug Gottlieb are back. Let's move to the Cowboys, where the drama over Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott's contracts continues to build, with Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk inserting himself into the situation yesterday. Faulk told the Rich Eisen show that he's headed to Cabo to train with Zeke and added a shot at Dak just for good measure, saying the Cowboys quarterback will be, quote, bum after he gets paid. Wow. Do we think Marshall Faulk is speaking for Ezekiel Elliott here?
It's no coincidence. So I think his intentions are to speak for Ezekiel, but they're not going to benefit Zeke in this situation. Look, if you're going to take a shot like that and your name is Marshall Faulk, put a silencer on it at least so nobody can see where this came from, but can hear it. This is too much. This is so over the top, it actually undermines his credibility. Dak's not a bum. I don't care how bad you think Dak is.
Oh, that's not what he said. He said after he gets the contract.
You're right, but to put him in a bum category in any respect.
That's a prediction.
That's
an unfair prediction, you say?
That's saying it's going to be 30 degrees in California.
No. Listen, I think what he's saying is, and again, this is how I perceive what he's saying. We evaluate Dak Prescott now because he was a fourth-round pick making no money, and he was thrust into this thing. We're like, man, considering all that, man, he's great. But if you watch Dak Prescott, now if he's making $35 million a year and he's the exact same player, our perception of him is completely different.
Why? He's a second. He has
Because
two
that's
Pro
the way
Bowls, second most wins.
Stop with the Pro Bowl.
Stop with the Pro Bowls.
Have you been?
That's because
I like the Pro Bowl. What do you mean? You
Wait.
can't just wake up and get in the Pro Bowl. You got to earn something.
Is he one
Second
of the
most
top,
wins?
Is he? Come on, man.
He didn't get the Pro Bowl because
Come on, man.
he's
Wait
a
minute.
substitute
Wait a
Pro
minute.
Bowl.
These numbers help your arguments when it's for somebody you like.
Get
or think
his
is good.
numbers,
No.
his actual numbers,
His-
quarterback playing numbers.
Yes, they're good.
They're average. Come on.
He's middle of the pack as a quarterback.
Like, really?
Well, wait a minute. His numbers are better than Carson Wentz's, and y'all not.
Wait,
over here-
Carson, hold on. Carson
where we
Wentz,
going?
in his second year, okay, had, 33 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. They were 11-2 on the year. Don't stop with he's better than Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz was coming off an ACL injury and had an
football,
average,
it
and
all
had a
counts.
Dak Prescott-like year.
It all counts. I hate when people say, well, I was hurt. Look, I lost my prime because of injury. Ain't nobody caring, and me either. I don't want to hear, oh, yeah, I was hurt, I was coming back. We're grading record to record. We're going resume to resume in the 3 years.
Resume to resume. Was Dak Prescott ever in the discussion of the MVP of the league?
Oh, God.
Not 1 second.
Where is Eric Mangini?
Hold on.
Derek Carr was too. Where's Eric Mangini when I need him?
I asked you a legit question. Was he ever in the conversation of being the MVP of the league?
No.
Was Carson Wentz going to be the MVP of the league before he got hurt?
Oh, God.
Yes or no?
You just gave me a forecast about Dak saying he's going to be a bum, and now you want to make another forecast if he didn't get hurt. He got hurt. Who knows what he's going to do those last games? Hello, Doug. Seen football lately?
Was he
it
going to
changes
be?
fast.
Was he a leading candidate to be the MVP?
Well, listen here, man.
I
I don't
you,
think
Doug.
Marshall Faulk was speaking for Zeke. I think he was just saying exactly how he felt. Now, the fact that he's friends with Zeke and he's going out there,
Good point.
I can't add a lot into that, and I don't take a lot from that because just because you don't like my friend don't mean I can't be friends with you. So I don't think.
I do think Marshall Faulk is a smart man. He's a wise man. He's an older person. He knows damn well, hey, I'm headed out to hang with Zeke, and then I'm going to call Dak a bum. He knows that's going to bleed onto Zeke.
Uh-oh.
You got to know that.
Doug, can we do Doug, we got a drum roll on this show, and it's called the Dak drum roll. You ready? I'm going to go Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott again, and you tell me who has the better of these numbers. Completion percentage, Dak. Passing yards, Dak. Yards per attempt, Dak. Interceptions, who has fewer? Dak. Passer rating, Dak. Rushing yards, Dak. Rushing touchdowns, Dak.
Who would you
touchdowns.
rather have as your quarterback? Who would you rather have as your quarterback?
Carson Wentz.
There you go.
Wow, you want to holler all that?
Wait.
But when the rubber hit the road, the money on the line.
No, Carson Wentz is my valet car. I just needed to show up in that. He ain't gonna make the whole trip though, because I know he gonna get hurt.
Okay, so you're doing the Tony Romo thing. Look,
what?
You have to understand that Marshall
Y'all
Faulk,
messed up. That wasn't
Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson, and Ezekiel Elliott are all rep by the same guy, right?
Here we
And
go.
they live in this world where running backs are still the thing, right? I love ED. I love Eric. He's great. He's a great teammate here. Okay, but they live in this world where running backs are still the jam, and they're all underpaid, and we all got it wrong. Look, there's a market correction in this deal, and running backs are worth less. C.J. Anderson was on the couch on his third team in 1 year, and he came in and he was better than Todd Gurley. The Todd Gurley contract's a bad contract. The Rams would love to get out of it. The Le'Veon Bell contract was so bad, the general manager got fired right after he signed the deal. And so the idea that it's the world against running backs, look, this is the NFL. They've changed the rules so that the wide receivers are more important. The quarterbacks are more important. Hell, the defensive ends are more important than the running backs. You are replaceable. And lashing out at a quarterback.
Let me ask you this. Though.
Preach, Doug, though. I like
that's
that.
a hell of a speech.
He nailed that.
Hell of a speech. There's a lot of truth to it. But the question we're asking is, do you think Faulk is speaking for Zeke here? Just answer that.
Yes, it doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter.
Can I explain? Okay, because the perception is he is. Whether he's Marshall Faulk's his own man. He's on TV.
Right.
Should have won the Heisman at San Diego State. We all know this. I mean, arguably the greatest running back of all time.
Yes.
Changed football
Yes.
with how he was used with the Rams.
Yes, say it.
He is his own man. But it doesn't matter. Because they have the same agent, because he's working with him, because he's on his way to meet him, anybody's reasonable perception is he's speaking for Dak. And
For
that
Zeke.
and for Zeke, excuse me. And that's poisons the well.
Yes.
That's poison to a football team that thinks they have a shot to win a Super Bowl, and that's the only reason
So
that you
you're
would
telling
relent.
me something that he may have said on his own that Zeke should have said, hey, don't say that?
No,
Yes.
in a conversation that is
Like,
talking
what
about
are we-
I'm going to train Zeke, I'm not going to take a shot at his teammate in that moment, and that's what happened. Right
Look, I mean, you
I
can send
understand
a
that,
text or pick up the
but
phone
he
and
can't
call.
control what another man says.
No question about it.
No question.
But to me, and I don't want to put thoughts in Zeke's head or words in Zeke's mouth, I just don't think Marshall Faulk did this willy-nilly. I've been saying it every day.
You have.
Dak Day is coming. And this is all part of Dak Day.
It's part of Dak Day?
It's part of Dak Day. And
Put
where
that
there's
down,
an
Dak
assault on his value.
Oh, it's coming.
And this, Daryl Johnston, it was the day before. Hey, man, you got to think about winning and blah, blah, blah. And here we come with Marshall Faulk. Because, trust me, Zeke believes this. They think Dak is being greedy and is tearing apart this team. And so he authorized the hit. He authorized it.
They doing it.
He ordered the code red?
Wow.
He ordered the code
I
red?
hate listening to you sometimes because it kind of makes sense. It makes you change your opinion and stuff. But I ain't about to change.
Keep going. Pro Football Focus,
Yeah.
Tier 3.
Who?
That was this week. Dak.
Yeah.
Who else we got?
He is tier 3.
Yeah, but you.
He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's
I'm
not
just
Phillip
saying the
Rivers. He's not
dominoes are
Tom Brady.
falling.
He's not.
The dominoes are falling in media perception and media stories. Immediately, one after another, killing Dak Prescott.
When they spin on it here, this is what I want you to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
No, I don't think it's spin. You guys remember that Parade magazine you get on a Sunday paper that would have what everybody makes?
Yeah.
You know, you go like, oh, the postman in Iowa makes $70,000 a year. Once you know what somebody makes, it gives you a completely different evaluation of them
Come on,
in terms
man.
of their professional
Stop
life.
riding the coincidence train. Look, Stephen Jones and his comments.
If Dak
this week-
Prescott's making $30 million, and you're sitting there going like, that's a $30 million quarterback? He's not crazy accurate. Okay, he's just not. He couldn't get the best out of Des
Money comes
Bryant.
great responsibility, baby.
Next week, we're probably going to hear from a teammate. Somebody in that locker room is going to have to stand up and be like,
Yeah. And it's going to be full-blown Pittsburgh Steelers O-line. Everybody go get this.
and
Everybody
Dak is doing it to himself, man. He's being greedy.
Oh, stop.
And Marshall Faulk is taking the heat now for what Zeke wanted and needed said. Because Zeke's getting desperate. He'd like to be in camp, and he wants his money, and Dak's standing in the way.
You're
Dak
right.
Day just around the corner.
You're
All right,
right.
before we go, football season is finally here. And as you head to and from the stadium to cheer on your favorite team, NHTSA would like you to remember that there are risks to driving drunk. So this season, let's all make sure to drive safely and responsibly, drive sober, or get pulled over. More Speak for Yourself after this. Uncle Jimmy, I believe, is on his final day of vacationing with the Blue M&Ms in Cabo. Hopefully he'll be back on Monday. All right, so let's get to a highlight from our discussion earlier about Brian Flores. In addition to being a Jay-Z fan, Brian Flores appears to be a fan of Eminem and the movie 8 Mile. Flores undress steals the way Eminem's character Rabbit exposed the fraudulence of his rap nemesis Papa Doc.
And if you're talking about what Brian Flores did, he first made sure that Kenny Stills kept his eyes on the prize on the field.
All right, Marcellus, are you convinced Brian Flores will be the first Belichick disciple to be a success?
The first?
Yeah.
What about Mangini? I hope he ain't watching that. The first?
I'm sorry, Eric.
Yeah. Bill O'Brien? No? Nah. I know what you're saying. Next level, right? No, I'm not convinced. As much as I like Brian Flores, literally love this guy, trying to lace him up just to play for him because of the way he is presenting himself, and he was a tremendous D coordinator. Pump the brakes. I had a lot of teammates that I liked, that were, personality, the way that they carried themselves. But when them bullets alive, it's a whole different animal. He needs to go out there and win at this next level as a head coach.
I think that football culture and Miami are two tough deals.
Oh.
And so I think as Miami's always been a party city. At one point, it was cocaine capital at one time. But now with South Beach and the enormous wealth that now the players have, I think that hurts football in Miami. I think that's why the U has struggled. There's just so much to do and so much to offer, and there's so much temptation that I think that's one of the tougher cities to have consistent success, and that's why I think so many guys are failing there. And look, Miami's always had its temptations, but I think the temptations are now larger, and the players have more access to income and enjoy those things. And so I think he took a job in a tough place to win.
Great point. But what about New York, L.A., Vegas is coming. I mean, it's a lot of ballers and great programs.
I think it's tougher.
Yeah, but it's tough. They post to you. That's all that happened to you. All those U players are just local cats, a lot of them. Then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, we going down there to get them.
All right, so let's get to our approval rating for Brian Flores. Job performance, I have him at a 15. I need some regular season information before I can go much higher than that. All-time great. He's one of 3 black NFL head coaches.
Respect.
4 Super Bowl titles with the Patriots. So I got to give him some there. 8. Character, 23. Authenticity, 24. 70. All-star.
Okay, I take issue with your job performance. It's too low, I should say. Last game he did coach in the regular season was a Super Bowl win. 3 points, the Rams. He was the D coordinator of that, so you got to give him high. And I love
play caller.
Yeah. I loved his character. He wants to address the real authenticity. 25.
We'll be back Monday with Uncle Jimmy.
Let's do it.